Hola, hola a todos. Hola a todos. Buenas noches, buenas tardes. Hola, hola. ¿Me escuchan? Hola, hola. ¿Cómo van todos? Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Give everybody a minute to join. If you can hear me, if you can't, just in the chat, just give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me. Hola, hola, Austin. ¿Cómo vas? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Me escuchas bien, Austin? Can you hear me well? ¿Me escuchas bien? ¿Todo bien? Give everybody a few minutes to join. I know this opening part of the, okay. ¿Cómo estás, Big Migs? ¿Cómo estás? I know this beginning part of these live streams normally is a little weird. Okay, gotcha, Austin. Thank you. As we're waiting for people to join, but hola, hola, the biblical dream interpreter. Hola, cómo vas? Hola, Jay. ¿Qué más, hermano? ¿Cómo va? So I'll give everybody a few minutes to join, and then I have a list of things I'd like to talk about. I know in the other live streams, I kind of just ramble a little bit and we ask questions. Hola Rose, estoy muy bien. Todo está yendo muy bien. Estoy muy bien. Hola Aileen, hola, hola. Elaine, sorry, Elaine, how are you? ¿Cómo vas? Hola Helmet Chili, siempre te aprecio mucho. Siempre veo tus comentarios. But today I have a list of topics that I like to go through. So I'm going to try to, stay on topic. Sorry, I'm going to stay on top of the comments, but I'm also going to try to stay on topic with some of the things that I have, listed to talk to you all about today. But again, I'll give everybody a few more minutes to join. Hola, John. ¿Cómo vas, hermano? I'm speaking in Spanish. Me imagino que entiendes inglés, ¿no? Pero español, ¿no? Pero Tampa is one of my favorite cities in the U.S. outside of Atlanta. But yeah, so I'll give everybody a few minutes, then we'll start. I've used StreamYard before, but I'm not the best at knowing how many people are here. Okay, I see it, 15. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start, and then within like the next 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully it shouldn't take me long to get through this stuff. I'll just open the link. Like put the link. Sorry guys, it's late. I'll put the link in the chat, and then those of you that would like to come in, ask any questions if you feel comfortable, we can do that. And I'll be here for like an hour and a half. So I really wanted to just have this live stream to say thank you, to say I appreciate all of you all who have watched my videos, subscribed to my videos. I feel like I repeat myself a lot with this, but I have to mention it, guys. I did not start YouTube to be a YouTuber. I did not start YouTube with this being in mind. And when I say this, I'm talking about me having 10,000 subscribers, me traveling like I'm doing, me meeting people in real life as a result of this channel. That was not the intention. Again, it was for Sharon, Lily, Juan. These are the names of my tutors. It was for them and for me to see my progress over time. And when I was learning Spanish in the beginning. And so I really have to say thank you to all of you all who have subscribed, because I remember, guys, I remember having 300 subscribers. Like I literally remember going from 299 subscribers, looking at that late at night in my old apartment, like super happy that, just waiting for that other person to subscribe. So to see that 10,000 people, value what I'm talking about enough to subscribe is something that's super humbling for me, and I'm very grateful for. Because for me, even if I were to show you the people that I follow on YouTube, I'm only subscribed to like 12 people. I know everybody's not the same; they don't have the same perspective about subscribing. But if I subscribe to someone, it's because I genuinely want to see what they're posting on a regular basis, obviously. And so the fact that 10,000 of you, and it's still growing, um, have decided to subscribe and are interested in what this random dude has to say down here in Atlanta, Georgia, is super humbling. And like I said, I appreciate it a lot. So that was the first thing that I wanted to mention. The second thing that I wanted to say was thank you again for that, but then also thank you to you all, because you all don't realize it. You wouldn't know, right? Because somebody on YouTube isn't gonna typically say this, but you all have motivated me, okay, to continue studying and to continue being juicioso, like the Colombians say, very active with my studies, making sure that I'm immersed in Spanish, especially when I was not at the point that I'm at now. Some of you have been watching my videos since I recorded like my 9-month progress when I was debating quitting. If you've seen my year and 1 month video, if you understand Spanish well enough to understand what I was saying there, I was tempted to quit right there. I was super busy with my tutoring business and some other things that I was considering doing at that time. I was going to rent out a tutoring center and do my, I just had other priorities outside of Spanish, but you all helping me through the comments and motivating me through the comments really kept me motivated to continue studying. And so I have to thank you all also. I know I'm saying thank you for 10,000 subscribers, but I would not be able to speak Spanish the way that I can if it wasn't for you all, either, directly or indirectly holding me accountable just from following what I've been doing. So I really appreciate you all for that as well. Okay. With that said, when I see 10,000 people have subscribed here, that lets me know that I need to start taking YouTube a lot more serious. Okay. And so I know you all are probably thinking, sorry, well, Michael, you upload a video almost every week. What do you mean you're not taking YouTube seriously? What I mean by that is my focus when I go into work is very professional, very like, I need to make sure I get this done, this done, this done. Stuff is planned, stuff is organized. The same thing with my tutoring business. If you ask any family that works with me, Michael's always focused. He's always on time. He never has excuses. He's always, kind of strict. And I'm not saying I need to be that way with YouTube. I'm just saying I need to value you all's attention a lot more. The fact that so many of you have found interest in the content that I'm making, I'm going to start making a conscious effort to make the video, to increase the quality of the videos. And so I'm going to put more time into thinking about video ideas and useful video concepts. And so I have a list now of at least 10 videos that I need to that I need to record that I have planned. I'm going to be traveling a lot in September, like a lot. I don't want to say the exact dates because you never know who's watching your YouTube, watching you in real life and watching your YouTube channel. But I'll be traveling a lot in the state of Georgia and outside of the country. So as soon as I get back at the end of September, the plan is to get on those videos and make sure that they're coming out regularly and that they're helpful for you all. Okay, so I wrote this down as like housekeeping. Couple of things. Those of you that know or have been following me, I created an Instagram. If you follow Instagram or not, if you just follow me on YouTube, I've been writing a book. Finally, finalmente, gracias a Dios, terminé con ese libro hoy día. I finished the last chapter of that book today, like literally today, a couple of hours ago. And so I am in the process, que más, Yorm. I'm in the process of getting that sent off again. It's going to be a difficult task with me traveling so much in September, but I'm in the process of getting that sent off to get edited, sent off to get a preview printed for me to make sure that everything looks well. But before that, I have to get a graphic designer to design the cover and all that kind of stuff. You all don't want to hear about all that nonsense. My point is, within the next month and a half, I'm not sure how long this process takes, but within the next month and a half, those of you that are beginners, early, intermediate, this book I think will be a very helpful tool it's essentially everything that I have in my mind, but it excludes all of this nonsense about the subjunctive and the indirect object pronoun and this conditional tense. You won't hear any of that. The only grammar term that I had to use was the subjunctive tense, but other than that, it's just a straight shot like, this is how you say this. When we say this in English, this is how you say that in Spanish, but it's explained. The logic of it is explained, but I just kind of cut the fat. If you all understand that figure of speech, like I just trimmed the fat off and made it just a straight shot. Like the tagline that I'm going to put on the book is a no nonsense guide to learning Spanish. Like it takes all of the crap off or out, sorry, and is a straight shot guide to learning Spanish. So I'm done with that. The other thing, and again, this is not something I will do if you all are not interested in it, and I haven't even done this in real life yet, so I wouldn't feel comfortable doing this yet until I actually see if this works. But if you've seen on that little community post or whatever, I just thought about this. I went to there's certain parts of Atlanta where you go. Why did I say Atlanta like that? Atlanta, where you go and it's obvious, like you're going to be able to find Spanish speakers there, but there are other parts that's not as common. You're going to see it's diverse. Atlanta's diverse. You'll see everybody everywhere. But I'm just saying primarily, areas where that you'll be able to find Spanish speakers. And so a couple of weeks ago, I went to I know when you hear this, you think of a different thing, but like a little countryside flea market where people were selling peanuts and belts and like random stuff like that. And I didn't even realize that I just heard a lot of Spanish there. And it's not too far from where I live, maybe like 20, 30 minutes. So long story short, I'm rambling. I'm going to try to take this to that place and just see how people respond to me. Okay. I'm just going to see if it works. I'm going to record everything. and let you all, see the reaction of people when I walk around with that. And if that's something that you all are interested in, great. I'll put that out. But if not, no big deal, not at all. But I just wanted to share that with you all as well. The other thing is that I would like to, guys, at some point do some kind of group trip. Okay. Now, I've seen this done. Well, I haven't really, but I've seen videos of people critiquing when other people have done this. And so, what I don't want this to be and what it won't be, it's not even what I don't want. What it won't be is you sending me money and then I put the money in the pot and we do, no, 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 no. It would be something like this. And I'm just curious to know if you all would be interested in this. It would be like, hey, on the following dates in June, from this date to this date, myself and three other people will be in Medellin, Colombia. We'll be in Lima, Peru. We'll be in Jaco, Costa Rica. We'll be in whatever place. If you're interested in having some kind of, meetup, group trip, language exchange with people, a cultural exchange with people in this country as a group of us, because it's much safer that way. And I just feel like any experience is better with people for me personally. And so if you're interested in something like that, Buenaventura, yes, oh, I would like to go. I would like to go. I would like to go. But that face that I made would be, I would like to go with some other people. And so if that's something that you all would be interested in, I'd just like to know. Again, it would not involve me and you interacting at all financially. It would simply be, we'll be here. Here are the dates. If you want to go, buy your flight, buy your hotel, buy everything, and we'll just spend time together as a group. Okay, is that something that you all would be interested in? I'm just curious. If you could let me know. I don't know if it's. I know, and I know some of you are like meeting random people from the internet. That's not something I like to do. But these language exchanges that we've been having have shown me that, like, so to an extent, doing something with language learners kind of filters through a lot of the nonsense. Okay. That's where my dad's side of the family is from. Okay. I've seen videos, Rose, I've seen videos of people traveling there. And apparently, if you stay in a certain part, again, you would know better than I would, but this is what the internet is saying, right? If you stay in certain parts, it should be okay. But when you go, there's some kind of hill that you go up. And then at that point, you're on your own if you decide to take that trip. So, but yeah, Colombia would be a great spot. I like Colombia a lot, so that would be a great spot to do that in. Next thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about, and then after that, if you all have any questions, let me know. If you all would like to join, I'll post a link there so that you all can join. I just forgot the next thing. Oh, so I'm going to Panama. I think Puerto Rico would be the best. A lot of folks don't need a passport. Okay, Derek, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that would be a good spot. And I actually have Puerto Rico on the list of places that I like to return to now that I speak Spanish. Because I've been, but I've never been as a Spanish speaker. Berman, I appreciate it. But the next thing that I wanted to bring up was, I keep losing my train of thought. Oh, I'm going to Panama. Interested? How about San Miguel de Allende? That will be something we can all discuss, Elaine. I think if we just kind of put a poll out and everybody takes a vote, and then whatever place, we'll take a vote on what ideas people have, and then from there we'll take those ideas and vote on them, and then whichever gets the most votes, we plan a trip there again. You all just kind of buy our own way separately, and then just go as a group to explore the culture, practice Spanish, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've heard great things about San Miguel de Allende. I have. So I'm going to Panama soon, very soon. I'm not going to say exactly when, but I'm going to Panama very soon. And so I'd like to know what kind of videos you like to see from that trip. Okay. In my previous travels, I've pretty much done the same thing. Seems like you all like those videos. Some of them you do, some of them you don't. And so I'm curious to know what would you be interested in seeing in Panama? Because I'll be there for a long time. I want to say maybe 6, 7, 8 days. I'm not sure. That to me is a long time. And so if you have any ideas in particular about things you like to see from there, any questions you have about Panama, let me know. But that's the last thing. Everything else, I just had some questions. Visit the countryside. Okay. It's this such exactly right. That's. I wish there was some kind of not history. That sounds weird, but some way to learn more about where he's from or something like that. Something that the country set up where you could learn about that. Because I would say he's one of their biggest artists, in my opinion, at least from my ignorant perspective. From what I know in terms of music from Panama. but I'm gonna follow you on IG. Okay, thank you, thank you. Mexico City would be a good idea. And I have some friends in Mexico City also, so that would be very cool. San Miguel de Allende. Okay, Mexico City or San Miguel de Allende was there about a month ago. Okay, how'd you like it? How'd you like it? The only thing that it's not bothering me. It's not bothering me. But if you notice in any video that I do with Mexicans, I always bring up the topic of like, hey, do you all feel like Americans? And again, I know that's not politically correct to say. I'm just saying that so you all understand what I'm talking about. People from the United States or even Canada, do you feel like they're ruining your country or taking over, or essentially just gentrifying, these major cities that you all have been living in so long? And I get mixed responses, and so I do like Mexico. And I want to go to Mexico. I just want us to be in an environment where we're not surrounded by nuestros paisanos, and that means our countrymen and women, But I'm open to that. I definitely would like to go there. If y'all have any other ideas, I'd be interested in hearing those. Visit the countryside. Okay, so that's it for the things that I had listed to discuss. If you all would like to, I know it's late. Normally we have a lot more people than this, but I'm going to post the link. Where can I do that? Sorry about that. I should know this. Is it just this? Okay, I'm gonna post this link here. Sorry about that. I'm gonna post that link as a comment there. And so if you'd like to join, discuss anything, you're free to do that. Like I said, hopefully we have some interaction. If not, I don't want to take you all's time too much. I know it takes people a little while to get in. It's only been about 15 minutes. Hola, señor. Estoy en español dos en escuela secundaria y me encanta verte en YouTube. Espero que ambos podamos mejorar en nuestro español. Lo siento, mi español no es bueno. Pues lo que acabas de decir tenía sentido, o sea, te entendí muy bien. Entonces, que te vaya muy bien en tu español, que aprendas mucho, porque yo no aprendí nada en la escuela, o sea, con respecto al español. Aprendí mucho en la escuela, pero con respecto al español no aprendí absolutamente nada. Aprendí cómo decir zapatos y basketball, es la verdad, es lo que aprendí. As long as we aren't renting for short-term rentals, stick to hotels, we aren't contributing to gentrification via supporting investors taking housing from locals. I agree. Listen, I agree. So Mexico seems like there's a big interest for Mexico, a large enough interest for Mexico where that could be a good spot. And I need to go to Mexico. Like I've been, but I went to Cozumel, Mexico. And I'm gonna be honest here. I think I should have gone to Mexico earlier, but Mexico to me is like the popular kid. If that analogy makes any sense, like Mexico to me is like the popular kid. It's like everybody loves, and I definitely want to go there as a group. I'm not saying anything about that in the future. I definitely want to go. I'm bringing this up to just explain why I haven't been, because it's a cheap trip for the most part. Flight from Atlanta is not super expensive. I know a lot of people there, but it just seems like it's the popular kid. Like, I don't know. It just seems like it's the popular kid of the Spanish speaking world, so much so that I even hear other Hispanic people say, hey, we're not all Mexicans. Like they got such a powerful culture. So definitely, I think that's why I haven't been there yet as a Spanish speaker, but it's definitely somewhere that I want to visit again. Great ideas. Mexico sounds great. Okay, Chris, that sounds like a plan then. Okay. Is there anything else that I had here? I'm curious to know what you all are, what your response to this would be. I lately, as you all know, I have a new job. I teach ESOL, which is sorry, I'm reading your comments and trying to speak at the same time. Let me focus. Is English as a second language. Okay. And so I'm using, not all the time, but I am using Spanish fairly often because I have to sometimes communicate with students that are super low. Maybe not in the class per se, because I'm teaching them English, but maybe to direct them to go somewhere in the school or something like that, or to speak with their parents. And I'm noticing that me speaking Spanish is becoming so regular that I'm not getting an exciting feeling from it anymore. Like it's so normal. Like I can't say exactly what happened today, but for example, today something happened where I had to speak Spanish and I felt like it was literally, and it's a good thing. This is a good thing, but I felt like it was so easy. It was so free flowing that it was just normal. Like it's not even, and again, I'm not trying to sound cocky. It's not even the challenge anymore. And so I say all that to say, I sorry guys, I'm reading comments and talking. Let me focus. I think I'm at a point now where I need to start considering learning another language. I need to get that excitement back. And so I'm considering either Portuguese or Mandarin, Chinese, just because those are the most useful languages. Again, for me, useful means I hear it in my everyday life here in the United States, or I know it's an accessible travel destination for me. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Also, I don't know if you all have experienced that yet. If you've gotten to that point yet, where speaking Spanish has become so, I don't want to say easy, but just like casual and so regular that exactly it comes natural now, where it doesn't really fire you up anymore. It's just normal. It's just normal. Okay, Mexico sounds great. Spot on. Where can I get that T-shirt, Derek? I'm gonna make sure that this is effective first. Meaning, I'm gonna go to a few places here in Atlanta and see how people respond to me, and then after that, I'll just I think I'll put it on Amazon. I'm not gonna do some kind of private website. I'll just put it on Amazon and I'll put the link. I'll put the link there on my channel. I'll put the link somewhere. Cozumel and Mexico City, SMA are quite South America are quite different experiences. I agree. I agree. Very different experiences. Very different. Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple of students from Guatemala, and they keep this year, and they keep recommending like you need to go to Guatemala. I really want. They're even telling me like I want to go back to Guatemala. I don't even want to be here. I want to go back to Guatemala. So I don't know why they're piquing my interest in visiting Guatemala. Also, I would definitely be interested in a group trip. Okay. Okay, that's dope. I'm hoping to get to that level sooner than later. John, you'll get there. You'll get there. And I know because I've seen your comments for a while that as long as you've been consistent and been practicing, like it's only a matter of time before that snowball starts to roll downhill and you just feel like it's just flowing. Can't wait until I get that point where oh yeah, Chris, it does come natural now. Yep. Can't wait until I get to the point where speaking Spanish is commonplace for me. Elaine, how long have you been studying Spanish? I'm curious to know. How long have you been studying Spanish? Because I can kind of, obviously we have different study patterns, I'm sure, but after a certain period of time, it'll get to that point if you're consistent. I'm jealous then because I want to be able to get that comfortable with Spanish. Lissa, what level are you at now? How are you studying? I'm curious to know because you'll get there. Like I promise you'll get there. I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I'll never learn this language. Like there's so many difficult things, but you'll get there. You'll get there. A1 checking in. ¿Qué más, A1? ¿Qué más? Me encantó la entrevista. Me encantó cómo lo editaste, la editaste y todo. Me encantó, hermano, la verdad. Muchísimas gracias por venir y gracias de nuevo por hacerme esa entrevista. Me encantó. You put that work in. Yeah, yeah. And at this point, guys, I don't want you to think I'm in here slaving away at these books, like these old books that I have in Spanish. I'm not. Like this book, I maybe got through half of it. Like it's kind of natural now at this point. It is. And so back to A1's point, he asked me this at the language exchange. Like, are you considering learning another language? I think I am. I think I am. Because I have some students that speak Chinese, and I would like to be able to help them in the same. I'm helping them, right? But it's not as easy to help them as it is for my Spanish speaking students that need help with English. Señorita Canela, do you have any tips for learning verbs in the past? Pretérito, imperfecto, and using them correctly while speaking. I know how to use them, but when I'm actually speaking, I get confused. This is a great question, Canela. This is a great question. I like that you know the names of these different past tense verbs, but I don't even think about them that way. Here's what I think about. And this rule does not always work. It doesn't always work, but for the most part, this will get you by, and then you'll start noticing the nuances afterwards. Whenever I'm speaking about something that was a specific instance at the dance, and let me not use that example. I danced at the wedding. Okay. If I'm saying something like that, I'm using the pretérito, a specific event. Not always, because I could say, yo fui el mejor estudiante. And I'm talking about I was the best student, but that's not one specific period of time. The verb ser is different. I'm speaking Spanish, diferente. El verbo ser is diferente. But for the most part, if I'm saying something that happened in one specific instance, that's when I go to the pretérito. Yo bailé ese día. And like whenever you're saying like that day, in that moment, in that instance, in those when those words follow the verb, I just know to use the preterite tense because It's a specific event. I just, in my mind, whenever I'm saying I used to dance, I used to run, I used to eat Pop Tarts when I was a kid, but I can't now. I used to listen to music like that, but I don't anymore. I used to be very shy, but I'm not anymore. That is when I know, when I, in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, used to, or like, or even in English, we use the word would, and I put this in that book. We use the word would to describe past tense also, not just hypothetical scenarios. I'll give you a perfect example. I would buy an iPhone 13, but I don't need it. I'm talking about something hypothetical, okay? But I could also say, I would talk on the phone all day. I'm talking about the past tense, okay? And so I say all that to say, even in those instances where I would say, I would talk on the phone all day. And in that instance, that's the imperfect tense because you're talking about something that was continuous. I used to, or I would do that all the time. I hacía eso siempre. Hacía eso siempre. Okay, I used to, or I would do that. Hopefully that explanation makes sense. If it wasn't super clear, I apologize. I've been teaching all day, but hopefully that helps. And I can reiterate that in a better way. I feel like I was just rambling there. Daniel, sí, hablo español, hermano. La verdad, hablo español. Te puedo decir eso. I'll definitely get a shirt. Okay, Awan, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And again, I just want to make sure it works. I don't want you all to be walking around with this on, because let's say this happens, right? I'm gonna try this when I get back from vacation. Sorry. Let's say I walk around with this on, and all I get are looks like what, or just people just look at me, right? And there's no response. Well, that tells me that doesn't work. I'm not gonna put that on. I'm not gonna put that out because it's not working. And again, I'm gonna try this in multiple places. It's not like I'm gonna go to one specific place, see the reaction, and then no. I have a feeling though. I have a feeling. I have a strong feeling, and I'm gonna tell you why I have a strong feeling of this. I have a feeling that it will be an indirect invitation for someone to speak to you. Obviously, that's why I would put the shirt out, right? But that's what I have a feeling will happen. A lot of people, especially those that will find it interesting, like, what? Like, you're learning Spanish? And I think that will be the initial response. Like, you're learning Spanish? In English, I think. And then, sí, sí, estoy aprendiendo español. ¿Me puedes ayudar? ¿Me puedes ayudar? Sí, claro. O sea, ¿dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? And I think that will be a good conversation starter. Because I know it seems like it on YouTube that I'm just super, I don't know if it seems like this or not, but I'm not super outgoing and like super, when people interact with me, I'm nice and I'm open and I'm myself, but I'm not the Mr. like life of the party everywhere I go. I'm just like randomly speaking to people. That's not me. And there are a couple of people that watch my channel that I've met in real life and we've gone out to try to practice. And they, even though their language, their Spanish level was lower than mine, a lot of times were the initiators of conversations. Okay. I remember one time we spoke to these Guatemalan guys, and I was like, man, I don't know if they're gonna want to speak to us. And this one, I'm not gonna say his name, but one guy that goes to a lot of our language exchanges and watches my YouTube videos, he just walked up to them and we had a great conversation as a result of that. So I think this shirt will help people like me that are not just quick to just go out and say, hey, I want to practice Spanish. Da, da, da. We'll see if it works. If it works, I'll put it out. If not, no problem. Jacoby, I'd say it depends on who I talk to. When I speak Spanish with certain people, it's like it flows naturally. And in other cases, when I don't feel as comfortable speaking to a specific person, I mess up. I get that, Jacoby. I definitely get that. I remember those stages. What I also remember, Jacoby, for me is I used to feel bad because most of us know if you're speaking with someone that is where you should be showing them respect, right? Someone that in English we would say sir or ma'am to. You're supposed to use usted, right? So I remember I used to talk to people, like older people or family members of people that I know, and I would be speaking to them with tú, like tú. O sea, me puedes decir eso, like that, right? With the conjugations for tú. And I used to be like, it's so hard for me to remember to say usted, or just like little things. It's so hard for me to remember how to say this in past tense. But I'm telling you, it's just our brains are wired to do this. And in the grand scheme of things, 2.5 years is not a long time. In life. And so our brains are designed to pick this stuff up. You'll pick it up. I promise. I promise. That's the biggest thing. Like I would have told myself, like, tranquilo. Vas a aprender el idioma tranquilo, hermano. Okay. I've been studying for 2 months. Okay, Elaine, I would call you a Spanish baby, which is okay. You know what I mean? I remember being a Spanish baby, and that was super, super early, super early. If you're even like privy to stuff like this channel and like other channels, not just mine, but other channels as well, this early, you're well ahead of the game, as long as you're consistent. I'm a Panamanian that's still trying to learn Spanish, and I'm 41. Okay, Birdman, talk to me. What Was it that your parents didn't speak to you in Spanish, or what was it? It's just, I know there are a lot of Panamanians in New York. It's just like, what stops you? What holds you up from learning Spanish? I'm just curious. Portuguese, French, Italian, and Spanish are all similar, all from the same language family, and easy to learn. Chris, I agree, because Chris, one day, like last week, I looked up how to learn Portuguese in Spanish, and so I was learning Portuguese in Spanish from a Spanish speaker, and it was the weirdest but like most fun experience of like, I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand. I'm learning this language, and I'm getting my Spanish reinforced as I'm doing that. So it was super interesting. Super interesting. Are you at a point where you're dreaming in Spanish? Derek, no. That's a great question. No, I haven't had a dream in a while though. I'm trying to think about the last dream that I had. I couldn't even tell you the last dream that I had in English. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but as a result of that, no. I think I maybe have had one. I think I maybe have had one when I got back from Colombia in 2020, but that was, I think, that would be a guess. But Derek, I walk around my natural thought pattern, depending on what I'm doing that day. If I'm spending the day listening to Bob Marley, my brain is not in Spanish mode. But if I'm listening to Spanish podcasts most of the day, my automatic self-talk on days like that is in Spanish, like to the point where I have to like tell my brain like, all right, look, you're in English mode when you're in work. If I walk into work just leaving my car listening to a podcast in Spanish, I have to kind of tell myself like, all right, English, English, and start talking to myself intentionally in English, because during that entire car ride when people were cutting me off, or I got stuck at a light that I should have made or something like that, I'm saying that all in Spanish. I want to join your course, meeting bad. J.E. Lou, what do you mean? My course? I don't have a course. I'll be coming out with a book in a couple of weeks. You can just buy that on Amazon, but I don't have a course like with reoccurring payments or anything like that. I just don't think you need that. I don't think you need that. A solid book and then some time with the language will teach you the language. You can kind of learn it on your own. You don't need a course from me personally. Agree, Christy. French, it makes learning Spanish much easier. Elaine, I agree. The only thing with French is I just don't know how often I would use it. I think France is an interesting country, but I don't have the desire to go there. Haiti would be the only other place, and that French is way different. Certain countries in Africa, I know there are other countries that speak French, but for me, language learning is like a utility thing. I know it's like, well, how brutish is that? It's not very nuanced and intellectual, but for me, it is a utility thing. Like I like to be able to. I like that today I had to call a parent that only spoke Spanish, and I could do that, and I had to use what I've learned. I like that utility aspect. But I definitely see your point. Those Romance languages are very easy to learn once you've learned one. Lissa, I did 2 years in high school, started studying regularly and obsessively in 2021. Daily lessons, some talking lessons, and lots of YouTube. You should learn Portuguese. I'm very much considering it. Because I like Portugal, even as a kid, even before I was interested in learning languages, Portugal was always interesting to me, excuse me. And my brother took 2 years of, I think 4 years of Portuguese in college, and he always talked about how great the language was and how much he loved his teacher and how he wanted to go to Brazil. So Birdman trying to learn Panamanian Spanish also. Alexis and everybody else, I did not know this until I recently started spending more time speaking with Panamanians, because I like to meet someone or know someone, before I go to a country. I really think the place is the place, right? But the experience with someone else that is from there, or even someone else that you know from your home country, but especially someone that's from there, it enhances the experience by 1,000. So I say all that to say, I've been intentionally before this trip trying to meet Panamanians. I tutor for one family that's Panamanian, and so they're putting me in contact with someone down there. But I also have been meeting some people online, and again, I try to do this as safely as possible. Try not to meet any random, weird people that have any weird intentions. But either way, I didn't know how unique that Panamanian Spanish is. It's very choppy, and it also has that Caribbean vibe to it. So it's different. Like that Mexican Spanish is very choppy. Like if I say this, I don't know if this makes sense. Chippy choppy. It's like cuts. It cuts. Okay, so like I'm saying like a lot, and I don't like when people do that. I'm reading you all's comments at the same time, though. Let me focus. Mexican Spanish has that aspect, but Panamanian Spanish has that along with that Caribbean vibe as well, where they cut the S's off, and so it's super unique. I actually found myself struggling to understand a couple of people until I like calibrated my ears to understand them a little better. But I'm very interested to see how it goes for me there. Since you speak status, try to focus on making a country that you can sound like. Yeah, music spot. Espero que suene casi como un colombiano. O sea, estoy más o menos imitando lo que escucho. Entonces, no sé si el idioma me sale así, pero es lo que estoy enfocándome en eso ahora. And I was saying that I'm trying to imitate a little bit of a Colombian accent. I don't want to sound super forced because, again, I've mentioned if someone that let's say someone from Italy lives in Atlanta for 3 years and they come up to me with some kind of exaggerated Southern Atlanta accent, I wouldn't be offended, but I would just be like, that's weird. Okay. Like if they had some elements of it, I'd be like, that's kind of interesting. Like you really embrace the culture. But if it sounds like an act, I would kind of be like, why are you doing that? Like you don't have to do that. Like you can just speak to me normally. And so that's what I want to balance, if that makes any sense, with Colombian Spanish. I do want to kind of lean that way and use a lot of their vocabulary and have a little smidge of that, but I don't want to go to the extremes where I'm like using the word pa to say, and like it depends. I tried that on some Colombians and they seem to like it, so we'll know. I may be contradicting myself here. You might in a couple of years hear me speaking like a straight Colombian. Forget all S's. Thanks Alexis. I noticed that Alexis has no X's. Oh, did I mispronounce her name? Okay, Alexis. Oh, right. They take out the S's. Unrelated, but the virtual language meetup that you had, did you have to register by a certain day? I signed up but never received the link. Okay, that was an issue. I sent it when I put the TW Forever, when I put the emails into the two row, on the email to send it to everyone. I got a couple of emails that came back to me saying this email address doesn't exist. There were like 2 or 3 people whose email addresses came back saying that this email address doesn't exist. And I just simply copied them all. Like I did a big swoop copy through Google Forms and I uploaded them straight into the email. And so I don't know if I might have just made a mistake or if I didn't copy it correctly. I don't know, but that might have been what it was. Not might have. That's probably what it was. I find that understanding my Mandarin language lessons reminds me of learning Spanish. The tones feel similar to me, or aspects of each. Okay, that will give me a huge head start then if they are similar. The problem I think for me with Mandarin Chinese, if I decide to learn it, would be that sh sound. I'm butchering it right now. It's not really like that, but that sure. It's like a ch mixed with an sh sound phonically mixed with a z in English. And so that would be the toughest part for me. Spanish is very similar to English, extremely similar. And so those sounds that I have no idea how to pronounce, I think would be tough. BB's, wow. Like just seeing that you're from Scotland is like, wow, that is crazy to me. I appreciate you watching my videos. I genuinely do. I can't even believe that. Like it's literally crazy to think that someone is in Scotland right now watching me in Atlanta, Georgia. But I appreciate it, BBs. I really do. Thank you so much for watching. Hola, bro. Saludos desde Argentina. Hola, Julian. ¿Cómo vas? ¿Cómo estás? Tus videos me ayudan para aprender inglés. It's so nice I can understand pretty much everything now. Wow. Julian, I'm going to speak to you in English, pero lo voy a repetir en español. How long have you been learning English? Because I don't know if I have a neutral English accent, so I don't know if it's super easy to understand me. 2 questions. How long have you been learning English? And do you find it easy to understand me, or is it kind of difficult? Did you have to get used to it? I'm curious to know how my English comes off to someone that's learning English. Does it seem standard to you, or does it seem a little different? Does it seem, I don't know, I'm just curious. I've been trying to get over the hump of A2 to B1. I get it. Canela, I get it. I definitely get it. It's just practice. And Canela, I think I read a comment of yours one time saying that you had started another language also. So that could have influenced it also. You've been doing a lot. From what I remember, I could be wrong. Do you all still consume Spanish content every day? Julian, sí. La verdad es que qué pena, ¿no? Qué pena que esta canción es la última que escuchaba. Pero escucha. Espero que YouTube no, man. Hopefully YouTube doesn't block me here, but... Okay, entonces sí, consumo contenido en español todos los días. Mientras estoy cocinando, estoy escuchando a música en español o a un podcast o algo, o estoy escuchando un video en el fondo. Siempre Estoy consumiendo contenido en español. Es casi es normal para mí ahora. No es, ni siquiera es no estoy estudiando, me parece. Es más que nada es estoy disfrutando. Mike, what level Spanish would you want people to have for the group trip? Austin, doesn't matter. Does not matter. If you now let me change that. If you've just started learning 2 weeks ago, no, it wouldn't make sense to come because it wouldn't make sense at that point. But if you are at a level where you want to have basic conversations, and I'll put a time limit on it, but for everybody, this could be different. Let's say 2 months, 2 months up until whatever, up until complete fluency, just somewhere where we could all be practicing, right? It's super cool. My tutor, Sharon, right? If you've seen that video, when I went to Bogota, that's what she did to me essentially. She took me to different markets and she was like, ask for what you want. And I'm like, but Sharon, I don't know how to ask for what fruit is that. She's like, I don't care. In Spanish, no me importa. Pídalo. I was like, ask. I don't care. So something like that. That was a great right now. I don't know if that would have the same like amazing. I don't know if I'd have that same feeling now, but for me at the moment, it was like super cool to be out there and practicing and trying and being pushed to use what I'd learned. So I think it would be interesting there. And again, outside of just the language part, it'd just be a fun trip, I think. I'm noticing at these language exchanges, and I have a video coming out about this, the people that would be even interested in something like this typically seem to be cool people, seem to be positive people, forward thinking people. And so I think if, a group of us got together, it would be kind of cool. So let me see. Wow. So have you gotten to the point that saying Spanish words first where you forget the English word? Derek, great question. No, no, no. That's a great question, but no. You know what? That's a lie. I have, because I have a couple of students. I was working with a student today, and we were both saying a word in Spanish, like, esa palabra. And she was like, ¿Cómo se dice en inglés? And I was like, I knew the word that she was saying. I knew that it had an English translation, but I just couldn't remember what it was. I was like, So at times, yes, but it's not often. I'm 100% born. I'm 100% Latino, born and raised in New York, and can't speak Spanish. I've been doing italki hard for 2 months, and I hope to become fluent. You will, Big Migs. You will. You will. I'm just curious. Do you know why? Like, did your parents intention? The reason I'm asking, right, is because I just want to learn genuinely. Did you hear Spanish and you just never learned it because it wasn't taught to you directly? Did your parents speak both languages, and so at home they primarily spoke English? What was the situation there? Well, I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious because Big Mix. I'm asking that for that reason, just out of curiosity, and also because I would like in the future, right, to at least for my kids to have a solid base in it. Regardless of where we want to live. If you want to live in the United States with the demographics of this country, it would be super helpful. And even if you don't, you have access to other countries if you do speak the language. And so I'm curious to know how that went for you. Felipe, como vas? I'm not sure, Felipe, if you've heard, but my plan is possibly to start learning Portuguese pretty soon. So I know I say this a lot, and Felipe, it doesn't depend on me learning Portuguese. I know we haven't met, but I feel like I'd be comfortable with you being my guide if I were to take a trip to Brazil. So I'm in the works of that. Believe it or not, I'm weird like this. I'll watch videos of like just how cities look, like Stockholm, Sweden, or today, a few minutes ago, I was looking at Kampala, Uganda, just like walking videos where people show you what the vibe is on the streets of different cities. And I've been doing that with Brazil lately a lot also. What countries have been fascinating me lately? Brazil and Estonia. I don't know why. And I was watching one with South Africa, a bunch of different cities, just to see what the vibe's like. Does your family express an interest in the fact that you've become bilingual? I just got back from studying in Costa Rica, and when I got back, none of my family even said, say something in Spanish. Chris, no. It's not like, I can't even describe it. It's like a recognition of like, yes, we have a family member that is bilingual. He has these YouTube videos. He, can speak Spanish, but it's like kind of normal for them. It's kind of normal. And also I've been speaking Spanish for a while, so it's even more normal for them. I will say this, Chris, what will shock them, or at least a shock to my family. I remember a couple of months ago, maybe I was in a bank with my dad, and we were driving from a different part of town, and we were in a part of town that has a lot of Hispanic people. And again, Atlanta's diverse. I don't want you to think it's segregated. I'm just describing the area. And the teller was speaking to the other teller in Spanish. And so when I noticed that, I was like, all right, this is the time to start speaking Spanish to her and see how she responds. But I didn't tell my dad this. I just started speaking to her in Spanish, speaking to her in Spanish. She responded to me in Spanish. And my dad looked like, what? And he started laughing. Like he burst out in laughter because he was just shocked. Like he wasn't, this is his son that he raised. And he's like, my son is literally speaking fluent Spanish like this. I have no idea what he's saying. So it's shock, but it's not, I don't think we should be looking for that approval from our parents or from our family members. Like, great job for learning Spanish. We probably may have been the same way. We may have been indifferent before we had this desire. So I don't take it personally. I just kind of view it as my own personal journey. And that is why I'm so focused on, making sure that people that are similar to us, that want to learn languages and want to experience new things, why we have language exchanges, I'm interested in doing that for that reason. Why, that's why I'm so interested in possibly doing group trips and continuing with this channel. Sorry, as it's late. Yes, sir. My mom is Panamanian and my dad is American, and I was basically raised by my dad. So whatever I learned when I was 2 or 3 from my mom, quickly forgot it. So I've been playing catch up. Got it, Birdman. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. That's completely understandable and logical. Okay, but and like I know, it's never too late. 41 is a young man in my opinion. 41 is a young man, so never too late. 2 years, 43, you'll be speaking Spanish. Probably better than I have. I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of these people that have emailed me and that I've done videos with, they speak Spanish better than I spoke when I spoke Spanish the same amount of time that they've been speaking it. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense. Nick, for example, Nick's been speaking Spanish for 1 year and 5 months. He speaks way better than I did at that point. I have a video coming out next week with a guy from the UK named Jonathan. Jonathan speaks Spanish way better than I did when I only spoke Spanish for 1 year and 5 months. So it's never too late. Appreciate that. Of course, everyone. Also, just learning the verb so leer with my language partner. Why worry about conjugating? For example, yo practicaba, when I could say yo solía practicar. Exactly. And that verb is used often, but like not taught often. It's simply just the word tend. Like I tend to study a lot. I tended to listen a lot. I tended to, it doesn't sound that formal in Spanish. And so, yeah, that's a great point. You can use that instead of using those complex conjugations. Hi, I'm back. Do you have any tips to understand Spanish at a faster rate? I can understand Spanish pretty well as long as it's slow, medium paced. Any advice? I do have advice. I love homies. I do. I would pick a video like where someone's speaking extremely fast. If you need some, I can send some. I was listening to a news report about a Colombian senator who was threatening a policeman in Cartagena, Colombia. And the police chief, this dude, I haven't been stumped by Spanish in months. This dude was swallowing words, literally. And that's the figure of speech that they have in Spanish-speaking countries. But I could not understand him. He was speaking so fast. The words were literally tripping over each other. So what did I do? I just played a part, like maybe 5 seconds, listened to it, tried to catch any word that I could, went back, played it again. Okay, he's mixing the sounds for these words. And so I'm replaying every little part. It's a tedious process, but doing that a couple of times will callous your brain and callous your ears to allow that to be smoother the next time you hear somebody that jumbles up the words like that. Okay, it's the same in English. I can send you some videos of some people. I'm just using South Carolina as an example because I like to watch videos of people in the country of South Carolina fishing and doing stuff like that. Of people in South Carolina or anywhere, right? It could be anywhere speaking English, and you'd be like, "What?" Somebody that doesn't speak English natively would be like, "What?" But it's just a matter of training your ear to hear that. So again, I'm rambling here. Find a video, find some kind of audio, play it over and over again, and try to just catch as many words as you can. And that tedious process, doing that tedious process, will allow you to catch sounds that are jumbled or weird or that are too fast, and you'll start training your ear to hear them when they're faster that way. Hopefully that makes sense. Julian, como nativo del español, no podría decir de qué país pertenece tu acento, pero sí tendría que decir alguno, diría que tienes como un acento mexicano. Julian, muchas personas me han dicho eso. Muchas personas, muchísimas personas me han dicho eso y no lo entiendo porque no me parece así. Es verdad, obvio, porque ustedes me han dicho eso, pero no sé. a veces trato de imitar el colombiano, entonces por eso me confunde a veces cuando escucho que tengo acento mexicano. Aún los colombianos me dicen eso. Una, una profesora mía siempre me dice como, te voy a pasar un artículo sobre tu país. ¿Y de qué se trata? De la historia de México o algo así. Entonces, es muy interesante, quizás porque o sea, crecí con mexicanos, obvio. Escucho el español mexicano siempre en mi día a día acá. Y además, uno de mis primeros profesores fue mexicano, se llama Juan. Entonces, él es mi amigo ahora, entonces hablamos de vez en cuando. Y cuando tenga más tiempo yo, ahora que he terminado ese libro, vamos a hablar más. Entonces, quizás por eso tengo este acento, pero no sé. Trato de imitar el colombiano, pero obviamente no me sale bien. Overcoming fear, developing a daily habit, and an obsession to learn is my key to learning Portuguese. You have to be okay with being wrong, wrong, and wrong again. You need a sense of humility and courage. I agree. I agree, Moonwalker. I agree. And it's going to be very humbling to go back to that point. Because again, right now, guys, I'm suavecito on Spanish. Like, I'm not, no estoy echando muchas ganas, which the Mexicans say. Mis paisanos dicen, my countrymen say. No es broma. Pero, yeah, it's very, very, very important, very important. So it'll be humbling to go back to that stage where I did not understand anything when I first started learning Spanish. Globe, I stumbled on Solia a while ago and noticed it was a workaround to learning tenses. I totally forgot about it though. Thanks for a reminder. It is the cheat code. It is the cheat code. I speak Portuguese. Okay. I speak Portuguese because of my obsession in finding comfort in being uncomfortable. I will listen to Portuguese while brushing my teeth, sitting in the car, and traffic light. Moonwalker, you know what's crazy? I can understand Portuguese, not completely, but I can understand Portuguese with the little that I have studied. And I'm talking very little, like 2 days of watching videos. But that, along with the many cognates, words that are the exact same in Spanish and Portuguese, sorry, as a result of those two things, I kind of understand Portuguese. It's crazy. It's really crazy. You don't realize it because the only Germanic languages that are similar to English are apparently Dutch and German. And so, even if as native English speakers, if I listen to someone speak German, I won't understand them completely. But there are some words that I'd be like, does that just mean this in English? Because they have the same origins. Spanish and Portuguese, it's like that times 1,000. There's so many because it was at one point same language from my understanding, and then obviously it's the same island, it's the same isla. It's not an island. I'm sorry, that sounded so dumb. The same peninsula. Okay, and so yeah, I think you get the point. I think it would be a good idea to learn Portuguese next. It would be an easier route to another language. In my experience with learning Japanese, the pronunciation between Spanish and Japanese are actually pretty similar. Jacoby, wow, guys, I did not know there were so many polyglots here. I feel like ashamed that I'm only bilingual right now. um, but okay, wow, I've heard Japanese is very tough. That to me, I do want to learn. I want to dabble in Japanese at some point. I do want to dabble in it in the future, but I just heard that's super tough. And I've even heard from professional polyglots. These are people that make a living from learning languages. That Japanese is super difficult to learn, super difficult. But again, everybody's perspective is different. Julian, I've been learning English for 2.5 years now, and I think yes, I can understand your accent well. I struggle a bit with British accent. Okay, Julian, I appreciate that. It means I'm hopefully have an understandable version of English. Sorry, but that British accent is definitely different. It's definitely different. What's super interesting is I was speaking with someone, a Colombian, a couple of days ago, and this guy he learned British English, and so it was super unique to hear someone who has a Spanish accent speaking English, but they're speaking English from England. Okay. And so it was very interesting to hear that. So I definitely see your point there. And I think depending on where you are, I think you're in Argentina, you told me, you're most often going to come in contact with American Standard English. And so te va muy bien, creo yo. Moonwalker, I commend you, brother, not giving up and finding the mental stimulation and learning a new language. Learning is making mistakes. Now, desista, fuerza, vas a conseguir. Okay, I think, Moonwalker, I'm going to guess. I don't know what now desista means. Fuerza, I think it's fuerza in English, right? Como like, perdón, in Spanish. Fuerza, como strength, effort, y vas a conseguir. And you're going to like get it or you're going to achieve it. I think that's what that is. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. Yes, I did start studying Japanese, but I stopped a few months ago. I want to focus on Spanish more because I'm more likely to use it in South Georgia. Okay, Canela. Okay, perfect. Got it. Got it. Understood. Understood. 100%. And again, I'm impressed by you all. You all motivate me because I find out you all have learned. Some of you have learned Spanish, Japanese. I got some people in here that have said that they've learned. What did somebody tell me? They learned Tagalog, the language in the Philippines. So I'm super impressed. But I agree, kind of as someone that's from and lives in Georgia, it's just Spanish is just so useful, like super useful. I don't care where you are in Georgia and a lot of the United States. It's just super useful. I'm so late. Hi everyone. Hey language learning lover. ¿Cómo vas? ¿Cómo vas? ¿Todo bien? Learning Portuguese más a mi vida. Vida es igual, pero no sé las otras palabras. No sé, no las sé. No sé, la verdad. Felipe. Okay. Okay, Felipe. Like in English, I'm sure you know, we say, I'm going to hold you to that. Okay. So if you get an email from me in a couple of months, like, hey, Felipe, I'm on the way to Rio or Sao Paulo or como es Bahia Yuca. I'm not sure, but if you get an email from me saying I'm on the way to Brazil, don't leave me hanging. I do the same thing. LOL. You get a really good feel for the city for those videos. Right. Okay, you're talking about the videos that I watch. Yeah, it's like traveling on your couch, if that makes any sense. And again, I'm not saying I'm going to be a couch potato and I'm going to stop traveling, but it's just a different way of, sometimes you don't want to fly to a random small island, Polynesian island, but if someone's been there and they record it, it's super interesting. Or Seattle in the United States, it's just interesting. Completely agree, Canela. I tried to learn it while learning Spanish when I was a beginner, but now that I've got my Spanish to a conversation level, I decided to get back into it. Man, again, you guys are motivational. You guys are motivating me. I've been somewhat lazy apparently. Nunca has pensado el hecho de hablar un segundo idioma como un superior, o sea, poder escuchar a la gente hablar en otro idioma y entender todo lo que dicen es increíble. Julian, estoy muy de acuerdo contigo, 100%, la verdad, hermano. Es un súper, ¿cómo se dice? Superpoder, estoy de acuerdo. Porque especialmente, Julian, me parece a mí, especialmente cuando la gente no sabe que tú hablas el idioma o que tú entiendes el idioma. Y cuando lo hablas y se dan cuenta, la reacción es como, ay, Dios mío, este chico no se entiende. No es que están diciendo nada mal, ¿no? Pero es como, qué, qué loco. Siempre es una sorpresa. Y no solamente en esos casos, en la vida en general. Mientras estás escuchando a un video o algo, o sea, o sea, yo al menos me siento orgulloso de mí mismo, ¿no? Es como que, ay, he invertido tanto tiempo en este idioma y ahora lo hablo, lo entiendo esa cultura por el hecho de que hablo el idioma, ¿no? Entonces es muy bonito, es muy profundo, poderoso y bonito también. Exactly, Jacoby. Spanish is more useful right now, at least here. Agreed, Canelo. Mike, are you thinking of going somewhere next summer for the group trip? Austin, a lot of people brought up. So what the plan is, I'll repeat it, is to get a list of possibilities. Everybody puts in a vote for their possibility, specifically a country, and then we can narrow it down to a city. But everybody would put in their idea, and then at that point, whichever idea's got the most votes, and when I'm saying idea, I should just say country, and whichever country gets the most votes will then go from there. And so that's how we choose it. It would be it'd be a democratic voting process. We just pick whatever country everybody voted for. And what it looked like so far in the beginning was a lot of people chose Mexico. When is the next language exchange and how do I sign up? Also, I like that video you did with Ricky Believe in Vlogs. Thank you, Derek. For me, it was un placer hacer ese video, to do that video with him because he inspired me to start learning Spanish. I wanted to give up a bunch of times, but I had him as like somewhat of a role model, in the process. And so I was humbled by him accepting that invitation that I offered him. But the next language exchange, Derek, will be in October. I was telling everybody, I'm not going to say the specific dates because, who knows who's watching my videos, who knows where I live and all that. But I'll be traveling a lot. I'm actually ironically going to South Georgia and also going to Panama this month. And so I'll be traveling a lot, so I can't do one this month. So it'll be early October. I don't want to put out the date yet because the problem is I'll get so excited and I'll put the post on Instagram, put the post on meetup.com, put a post on YouTube on the community tab, and then I'll get a call from the library in Norcross saying, "Hey, we don't like that you said meet up here at this time, so we're going to say no, you can't do it. We're going to reject your request." It's literally petty stuff like that. I'm exaggerating, right? But I'm not sure if you know, Derek, the last language exchange that we had, the plan was to have it at the Norcross Library. Last minute, I promoted it. This was not an intelligent thing to do on my part, but I promoted it before I reserved the room. And so I found out that the room was reserved. And so I tried to ask them to use a different part of the library. They said no. Then I asked to use another library that's nearby in Duluth. They called me when I was at work saying, "Hey, you can't, we denied your request because you had a small Gwinnett County Library logo on the flyer. And so you can't do that. And so you can't have the language exchange." Well, can I just take that off? Can I scrub the internet of anything that has that? And then I'll repost the promotion and I'll take that off. No, at this point, you can't do it. So it's just like, so I don't know why I brought that story up, but long story short, I have to find another location. But it should be in October. I don't know why I brought that up. Why did I just bring that up? You can speed up a video or later, and let me read properly. You can speed up a video and later go back to normal speed. It will sound slower. That is a great idea. That is a hack that I never considered, but that will also help. That will help a lot. That's like there's something else in life that's like that. There are other things that are similar to that, but that's a great point. Language learning lover. John, I really appreciate your content, bro. It's all good to know another Black guy who likes John Mayer. Huh? I believe you mentioned that in one of your videos. Yeah, John, I have diverse tastes. I'm not. What I find a lot of times, John, and I mentioned this in my last video, like a lot of people take extremes with their interests, with their hobbies, with things in life. John, I can listen to a rap album and then listen to John Mayer, and then I'm going to name drop some people. I might be mispronouncing his name, but Bon Iver, I think is the group, his name. I can go from that to listening to Future, to John Mayer, to Justin Bieber, to Taylor Swift, to some Spanish music, to classic soul music. Like I'm super diverse in my interests, not just with music, but in other things too. Like my hobbies, like I'll go play basketball in Atlanta, and then I'll go play tennis at a country club, and then I'll go hiking at the mountains. You know what I mean? I'm kind of a weird guy in that sense. That's what I was mentioning in my last update video in Spanish. So but I know exactly what you're describing. Sometimes it's like, am I the only guy that likes John Mayer? But no, you're not. You're not. There are a lot of people that have diverse interests. I know what you mean, though. Like this video for more eyes to see. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, Mike, I've been learning for around 4 months. What is a big tip you can give me for Spanish? Wow, that's a big question. That's a vague question. But one tip that I can give you is 2 tips. I know you asked for 1, but they were like 2 in 1. Read. And what does that mean? I have some books here. Yes. That is not in English. It's not a Spanish book. And I always bring this book. I have other ones. I don't want to use this one again. I'll use this one again. Los cuatro, acuerdos, the 4 agreements. Okay, this is like the self-help stuff in that a lot of people read in English. So I decided to read this in Spanish. What I would do, and it doesn't have to be this difficult of a read, but I would find something that you can read it. And what I mean by read it is if you come across a word that you don't know, take out your phone, pull up an app called Spanish Dict. That's it right there, and type the word in there. Okay. And just go through and do that with the same passage every 2 or 3 days. What you'll find, and this is not something that only works for me, because I'm doing this in my new job with my students that are learning English, and it's working. Okay. I can't speak on any specific names, but I have some students. I'll just say some students. I have 1 student. I'll say this. It's not saying anything about her in particular, who could not speak English at all. She's been in the United States for like a year, but could not speak English at all. This girl and I are having conversations already, and I'm simply using the principles that I'm explaining to you now. We get a book. She reads through it in English. She tells me what that means in Spanish. She reads through it again in English. The next day I come back and test her on the questions on the words that we just read about. Like, what does skirt mean in Spanish? Falda. What does this mean in Spanish? Da, da, da. What does this mean in Spanish? Da, da, da. Like, you see, this works, right? He's like, mm-hmm. She looks at me, he's like, mm-hmm. And so that is the biggest tip. Consistency with that. Find something to read. Learn those words as you're reading if they're unfamiliar to you. Come back to that every couple of days, and you'll just notice it's a snowball effect. You won't forget those words. I will never forget the word vaca. I never studied that word. I learned that from reading a children's book. I will never forget the word tortuga, turtle. I learned that through reading a children's book. I will never forget the word acontecimiento, which means an event. I learned that from reading a short story. I will never forget what the word salir means because I learned that through reading a short story on the internet. That's how a lot of the words that we even know in our own language, we learn them from Cat in the Hat. And that's what, you know what I mean? We learn them from basic reading material. So just do that. I don't know if I overemphasize that point, but do that. Just gringo to Latino. ¿Cómo vas, hermano? Just checked in. Did you say you're going to start learning Portuguese? Thanks, son. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to, because I was saying that it's just, Spanish is not really, I'm not saying this is like a cocky, like I'm just the best at Spanish, but it's not challenging me anymore. What is interesting, like I'm enjoying it because I'm finding that I'm learning more. How can I say this? Like, how can I describe what I want? Okay, I saw a video the other day of somebody who immigrated to Texas from China, and this guy had on a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, and he was saying like, "We're finna get the cows ready," and I was like, "This dude is like he's immersed in that Southern Texas culture." He just said the word "finna," right, with a cowboy hat, and he got cattle and all that. So that the equivalent of that is what I'm learning in Spanish, and I think that right now is really interesting and enriching for me. But just the day to day, just using Spanish, it's like normal now. It's normal. Like it's like if I were to ask you, "Are you excited to speak English?" You'd be like, "What? I speak English." Like I speak English, you know. And so Spanish is getting to that point now. It's still interesting. It's still fun. I still like to use it. I still want to travel and explore places, but it's getting to the point where it's just like I speak Spanish. I speak Spanish. I want to be a polyglot when I'm 25. Do you think it's possible? I'm 21 now, Julian. For sure, for sure, for sure. Think about it. It only took you 2.5 years to learn English. And they always say the first language is the hardest to learn. And so now that you already know the steps and the techniques that you need to learn a new language, I wouldn't be shocked if you could learn, for example, another Germanic language like German or Dutch or something like that in less time. And a lot of these polyglots, Julian, I'm noticing, they don't speak these languages the way you speak English, like to that level, or the way that I speak Spanish to that level. They just get to a conversational level. If they can have a conversation or travel to a country and hold their own, they consider themselves a speaker of that other language. And so they just accumulate languages that way. I definitely think you can do it. I definitely think you can do it. I find that English speakers who learn Spanish as a second language are easier to understand when they speak Spanish. Such a good point, Chris. The native speakers. Do you think that's because English speakers talk slower? Chris, I think it's a mix of that. But I also think that it's a mix of just naturally. Okay, so here's what happens. I have a great explanation for this because I noticed this exact same thing. The words that I choose to use in Spanish, we've got options, right? In word order, in word choice, you can communicate the same thing multiple ways, and it still would make sense. Still would be phonetically and grammatically correct in Spanish. What we do as native English speakers is we often elect the option that's correct, but the option that sounds most or translates most directly to English. And so as a result of that, the words, the little filler words, the words like de, a, o sea, esas palabras, those words, we put them in similar places, similar places, in the same places that we would put them in English. And so as a result of that, I think that's why it's easier for us to understand native English speakers that are speaking Spanish versus native Spanish speakers. I think that's what it is. It's a mix of us speaking slower, but also a mix of our word choice and our word order choice. And I want to think of a perfect example for that. There are words that if I had time, I could think of some examples of that specifically and give them to you. But hopefully that makes sense. ¿Cuántos libros has leído en español hasta ahora? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leí la mitad de este libro, El milagro metabólico. Leí la mitad de este libro, entonces 5.5, like 5.5. Voy a volver a terminar este libro, pero cuando leía este libro era durante la Navidad y Thanksgiving acá, y mi familia me veía como, ¿por qué estás leyendo mientras estamos cenando, o disfrutando, compartiendo tiempo juntos. Entonces, por eso no terminé leyendo este libro, pero lo voy a terminar. Entonces, so it's 5.5. 5.5, I would say, Julian. Where are we? Be careful assuming Portuguese is similar to Spanish. There are a lot of words that have similarities, but there are so many that are pronounced differently. King 2, I agree with you. I agree. I definitely recognize that it would be tough. It would be tough, but I think it's fair to say that there are a lot of similarities that will make it a lot easier than like Japanese or something like that. But I agree. I agree. It's a false assumption to think that you're just gonna pick up Portuguese like that just because you speak Spanish. Because if that were the case, there would be no need. Spanish speakers wouldn't have trouble learning the language, and they do. They do. I feel like every language has its challenges. Doesn't matter if it's Spanish, Japanese, English. But I believe having a strong why can help you overcome those challenges. Jacoby, I agree. But you bring up a profound point. That would probably be my dilemma then with another language right now. I want to, but my why wouldn't be there as strong as it is with Spanish. And so that might halt my progress. So I'm curious to know what your opinion on that is. What's been your why for learning those other languages? Jalen, que más? Jalen, it's crazy, Jalen. And I want to say you're one of those people, along with some other people that have commented, but that have been watching my videos since the beginning, that I remember reading comments from the beginning. So I want to thank you personally, honestly. And those, other people that have been in here, I thanked you all earlier also. But it's crazy. It's crazy, Jalen. It's literally crazy. I was telling them, Jalen, I remember seeing my subscriber count at 299 people, like late at night, thinking like I'm about to have 300 subscribers. So it's literally insane to think that 10,000 people felt like I was providing them enough, information and value to subscribe. But I appreciate you. Te aprecio mucho, la verdad, la verdad. Porque usted, es como si fuera colombiano. Tú me has ayudado un montón, hermano, la verdad. Tanto, tanto, la verdad. What about a virtual language exchange? Derek, we did one. We did one. Oh, you're saying while I'm traveling? It would be tough. It would be tough. It would be tough. Because I try to like squeeze as much as I can out of my trips. And so it would be tough to do one while I'm traveling. And when I go down to South Georgia, I'm going to be with family. And so I don't want to really, we want to spend time. I'm going to be with some cousins that I haven't seen in a while, and some family members of mine. So I want to share that time with them. You're close enough, brother. So many foreigners are surprised when we speak more than just English. It's funny to see how shocked they are, and the respect you gain. The respect you gain is ridiculous. It is. It is. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say like, "Oh my gosh," in Spanish, right? "Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that you speak Spanish. How'd you learn? I really wish my English would get to that point." They're shocked. They're shocked because the average person, I'm not even going to down people in the United States, but the average person, I can't say that because in Europe it's different. But the average person, at least in the United States, I don't want to down this, but it's the truth. It's not interested in learning another language. I even see it, like I see it when I try to speak to other people about possibly learning another language. Why would I do that? Like I live in the US. Why would I do that? Our language here is English. Why would I learn another language? So I definitely see what you mean when you get those reactions from people. It's like you're automatically viewed in a different light. Like this guy must have a much more open perspective. So I agree. I'm with Chili. Same here, Mike. I can listen to Mason on the cello. Yeah, yeah. Kansas to Merciful Fate to Vibes Cartel. Man, you mentioned a GOAT right there. Vibes Cartel. Man, I haven't listened to his music in a while, but yep, I'm the same way. Life is diverse. We shouldn't be put in a box. We shouldn't allow anybody to put us in a box. That's anybody. That goes for anybody. Chili, I agree. Trent, yep. I like it's the accent. I think it's just the accent. Oh boy, Davey. Oh boy, Davey. Tell me in particular. What do you mean? I've been rambling kind of, so I missed your point there. What's the accent? Talk to me. Talk to me about that. I just bought Los Cuatro Acuerdos. Do you have any more book recommendations? Superior Outlook Vista. I don't because. Well, yes, I do. But this one you don't have to buy. You can find a PDF version of it online. It's The Alchemist, La Alquimista. I think El Alchemista. I'm not sure, but you can find that online. I'm looking here. I wouldn't categorize myself like this, but I'm somewhat of a minimalist. So if I'm not using something, I kind of get rid of it. So all the other books, I just liked the Four Agreements so much that I thought I'd reread it sorry. I thought I'd reread it in Spanish again. And so I kept this, but I don't really have any other books that I've kept. And so I don't really have any recommendations other than The Alchemist. I think that would be a good read. Atomic Habits is a book that I'm currently reading to improve my English. I recommend it for your Spanish. It's really easy and helpful. Thank you for that recommendation, Julian. And I have a friend, one of my best friends, has recommended that book to me. He said it's changed his life. I'm sometimes, Julian, sometimes skeptical of the self-help industry. Sometimes because I fell for the in my early 20s, I fell for the overconsumption of that kind of content, those kind of books. And I fell into the trap of what is it called? Paralysis by analysis with a lot of things in my life. But I've heard that one is one of the exceptions in that industry. It's one that actually is very, very helpful and very practical. So I'll check it out. I actually will consider buying that when we get off of here in Spanish. Have you ever considered to take like a certification and exam for Spanish? Julian, I haven't, but at this point, I think it would just be like cool just to say that I've done it, but I haven't considered it. But I would do it. Um, I would need a reason for it. I would need a reason for it, but I would do it just out of curiosity. I would do it. Jalen, it's crazy, bro. You've been consistent with your videos, just like you've been consistent with your Spanish inspiration. Jalen, I appreciate it. It's genuine. It's literally insane. I was telling them I probably have to start taking YouTube a lot more serious. Not that it's going to be like my primary focus in life, but just if 10,000 people have said, you know what, I'll subscribe here, I think I need to invest a lot more time in the audience. So I appreciate it. And if you haven't, I'm going to say it again. I always say it. If you have not gone to Jalen's channel, Quick Tempo, I've gleaned information outside of just language learning tips from him. I don't know why he's not a fan of doing his sit down videos as much, but I'm a huge fan of his, and we definitely have to get together at some point. I would recommend his channel just in general with life. He does Spanish stuff, but just in general with life, I'd recommend his channel a lot. Oh boy, Davey, when he said he could understand English because I speak Spanish better. Oh, right. Oh boy, Davey. Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Derek, how do you overcome when trying to speak Spanish to native speakers and they respond back in English? Derek, I have a lot more empathy now. Okay? I have a lot more empathy now. Before, I realized that my perspective on this, and I hate when people see that video that I made a while ago where I was like, it was kind of like, if you really think about it, it was really a tantrum. I look back at that video and I'm like, you were throwing a tantrum pretty much, because I was like, they won't, I didn't say this literally, right? But I was just like, they won't speak to you. You won't get fruitful conversations. But I have to have some empathy, right? Number one, if your Spanish level is not at a point where you could be confused for a native speaker, number one, the average person does not have like the time or energy to sit there through a struggling conversation with you. It would take a genuinely nice person, patient person. I mean, think about the circumstances, right? You just got off of work, working 8 hours, 9 hours, and some random dude with a smile on his face is like, "Puedes ayudarme con español?" It's like, dude, I want to go home. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't have time for the games. So that's one thing, like empathy in that regard. The other thing is, I can just honestly imagine, like, why do you, somebody could honestly say this, why do you assume that I speak Spanish here in the United States? Okay. Why would you assume that I speak Spanish? Okay. Why would you assume that? Like, what made you, if you did not hear me speak Spanish, why would you assume that I speak Spanish? So that is another element that we need to include there. And the third element is just, they may not feel like, they may not feel like it. Like, they may not feel like it's not always some kind of like, it's not always a personal thing. All right. It may not be. It may not be. So long story short, how do I deal with it? I just go back to English. I also, though, try to make sure if I'm going to practice Spanish, I'm doing that in an environment where I know it would be welcomed. Okay. So certain places where I know, let's say if the majority of people in an area, like in a market or something, or in a specific area where there's like Hispanic cultural events, the majority of people are there, they feel comfortable speaking their language. Okay, in an event like that or an area like that, I'll go ahead and speak Spanish and just see how it goes. And a lot of times it goes well in those environments. But just a random person on the street, you don't know what factors are going on. You don't even know if it's a nice person. Like, you don't even know if it's just a genuinely nice person. We romanticize a lot of things when we're, especially in the beginning stages of learning Spanish, but you realize like it may just not even be a nice person. They may not even want to spend time doing that. So just things to consider. I don't know if I rambled again there, but just consider those things. Um, Jeremy, would you suggest learning European Spanish or Mexican Central American Spanish for a beginner? Jeremy, depends on your personal goals. My goal was for Spanish to be as useful as possible, for it to be as practical as possible. And I've met one person from Spain in my life, and I was in college. Other than that, everybody that I know that speaks Spanish, that I meet on a regular basis that speaks Spanish, is either from Central America, South America, or from the Caribbean. So for me, if it makes sense to focus on Mexican or Central American Spanish, but if you're not, if you plan on traveling to Spain or living in Spain, it would make sense to know how to say. I don't even know how to say. I forget. The conjugations that they use. They use a different conjugation, but estáis. It would be útil. It would be useful to learn that. With Spanish, I started learning because of a delivery driver who couldn't speak English at my old job that had an issue. So to help, I decided to learn Spanish. Okay, Jacoby makes sense. Exactly. I think that's always a good motivator when you realize you can be helpful to people. But yeah, I would need that either extrinsic, or intrinsic motivation to start with another language, especially a difficult one like Japanese or something like that. I don't read a lot of self-help books either, but Atomic Habits is really good. I purchased the actual book instead of putting it on my Kindle Paperwhite. Okay, and again, you're not the only one who's told me that. I've heard that a bunch from people, so I'll consider it. Not consider it. I plan on actually looking to see if I can find it in Spanish after this. I've heard that. One of my best friends, he's a Jamaican guy, and he told me like this is one of the best books that he's ever read. He changed careers right after he read it. He's like super happy, bought a house, got married, a bunch of stuff. Not that has anything to do with the book, but it's just ironic that after he read that book and recommended that to me, all these great things started happening in his life. So I remember that video. Yeah, A1. I was literally a tantrum. Like it didn't present itself that way. It didn't outwardly seem that way, but that's what it was. I just gone to a market and that dude was like, "Hey man, like buy your tomatoes and go." He didn't say that literally, but that was his demeanor, and I was like, "Man, he didn't want to speak to me in Spanish." So it was just an adult tantrum basically. Brick Builds, hi, ¿cómo vas? ¿Cómo estás? What was that channel that you just recommended? What was it? I can't remember. Language learning lever. I can't remember. What was I talking about? I can't remember what the channel was called. I learned that people aren't obligated to speak to you in their language, in their language if they don't want to. It was frustrating at first when I was learning, but now I just don't worry about it. Exactly. And again, I find that when you travel, it's the complete opposite. They're going to expect you to speak Spanish. If you don't, it would be an inconvenience for you and for them. So just travel a little bit and you'll get that practice that you want. ¿No te pasa a veces que quieres aprender otro idioma a un nivel muy bueno como con tu español, pero sabes el tiempo que lleva llegar hasta ahí y nunca empiezas a estudiar? ¿No te pasa a veces, necesito leerla otra vez? ¿No te pasa a veces que quieres aprender otro idioma a un nivel bueno, como con tu español, pero sabes el tiempo que lleva llegar hasta ahí y nunca empiezas a estudiarlo? Sí, Julián, mucho, me pasa mucho. La verdad no he hecho mucho esfuerzo para realmente aprender otro idioma, pero sí entiendo. Me ha pasado y pienso en lo duro que me ha ido y lo difícil que fue aprender español y pienso como, quiero hacer eso de nuevo, ponerme en esa posición otra vez. No lo sé. Entonces sí, es cierto que eso me pasa, pero no sé. This is the first time being in a Q&A. Okay, Brick Bills, any questions that you have, just let me know. I'll answer them. And I'm just kind of just do it pretty chill this way. Normally there are a few more people here. I think it's the time. It's a Friday night, so a lot of people are probably out, but I know I'll be traveling, so this was the only time that I could do it to say thank you all again for 2,000 subscribers. Vosotros, exactly, Canela. I believe you were referring to Quick Tempo channel. Right, Quick Tempo. I was talking about mi hermano Jalen Quick Tempo. If you just type in Quick Tempo on YouTube, you'll his videos will pop up. He has a mix of everything. You said he didn't want to do. Yeah, he does videos about language learning. I've done a video on his channel. He's an Olympic weightlifter, so he has videos like that. But he has videos where he just sits down to talk and discuss certain topics, and I find those videos very thought-provoking. He has an interesting perspective that I agree with a lot of times. Sometimes I don't agree with everything, but either way, I think it's a very intelligent and like it's usually intelligent conversation. It's very nuanced. It's like perspectives that you rarely think about, but are very logical and very true. So I would recommend it. Again, it's my personal taste, but I'd recommend you all go over there. He's close to 1,000 subscribers. I think he should have been there a long time ago, but go over there and check him out if you haven't. What do you recommend for listening comprehension? I hear and understand individual words, but rarely understand the message being conveyed unless I use context clues. Sugar free. That I think is I would diagnose that as an issue with your vocabulary not being wide enough. If you know, it's gonna sound so simple, but if you know that llave means key, there's no reason why when you hear that word you shouldn't recognize it. It shouldn't be foreign when you hear it. The reason those words seem foreign is because you don't know them. Literally, I know this is like so basic. It's like, what? Are you really telling me that? But yeah, that's literally what it is. If you've never come across the word, it's not going to make sense. So you've got to expose yourself to the word and learn the word. Once you learn the word, you hear it once, you may forget what it means, but the next time you hear it, I promise our brains are designed to memorize that. I promise. I promise. Your brain is designed to learn a language. I promise. Okay, so just try that. Read more, expose yourself to more vocabulary, and then once you have the vocabulary in your brain just sitting there waiting to be compiled, when you hear something, your brain will say, "Oh, I've learned that before," and it'll compile it and lock it in. You won't have to sit there and do flashcards or rote memorization or anything like that. I promise. And that's not just my opinion. Like I said, I was telling people before, I'm doing this now. I'm testing this out with students that I have now as an ESOL teacher, and it's working. We're seeing a lot of progress with my students. I went to the Dominican Republic last month, and I wish I would have known a little Spanish before I went. Oh, yeah. I don't think you really enjoy a country, in my opinion. Again, this is all my opinion. I don't think you really enjoy a country to the full extent without knowing the language in that country, especially if it's a country where a lot of people don't speak English. Some European countries, some African countries, I think some countries in Asia, I think the Philippines, some countries in Asia, a lot of people speak English. So it's not, your experience is not hindered by not speaking their language. But in a country like the Dominican Republic or many Spanish-speaking countries, if you go without speaking the language, sure, you can enjoy yourself, but it just inhibits the experience. And I also find it weird when people who don't speak Spanish are always talking about, well, yeah, like in this country, things are like this, or in this country, people think like this. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, how? Number one, it's a lie. And I know that you don't know. Number one, because you're lying, and two, because you don't speak Spanish, you don't even know what people are saying to you. How are you telling me what the perspective is on this in the Dominican Republic or in Colombia or in whatever country you don't even speak the language? So I think it's very important. It's worth the time investment. I've only invested 2 years in Spanish, and even if I stopped right now, I'll never forget the language. Even if I didn't expose myself at all to the language, I'll forget some things, right? Some words that I don't use often. But if I just kept speaking it, I'll never forget. So it's worth the time investment. Just invest the time for 2 years. Again, that's a short period of time. Retrospectively, just invest that time and you won't regret it. Of course, Jalen. Of course. I appreciate your videos. You said it correctly. Necesito leer otra vez. Okay, gracias, Julian. Sabes, no, esos géneros en tu idioma en español nos cuestan entenderlos, ¿no? Entonces, a veces me equivoco con los géneros, pero gracias. Do you have any tips to help improve my Spanish listening skills, superior outlook, vista? Check out my videos on that. But the main thing, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but reading. If you learn in a book that the word lobo means wolf, there's no way that you won't hear that word and your brain won't like light up. Like something in your brain will light up like lobo. I've heard that word. And then if you are lucky enough in that instance, or the second time you're exposed to it, you'll if you're lucky enough the first time, great. If not, the second time you hear that in another context, you won't forget that word. I promise. I'm trying to think of words that I learned that way. Escritorio, which means desk. I learned that way. Las uñas, nails. I learned that way. It wasn't from rote memorization. So just practice reading. I don't think you can just sit there and play a podcast. And I saw a video earlier today of some guy saying, yeah, I learned Spanish just by sitting down and listening to music and listening to podcasts. That to a certain extent works. And I have a video coming out with a guy from the UK who said that for 6 months, he speaks Spanish better than I did at that point. After a year and 6 months, he does. And he said for 6 months, he did not study Spanish at all. He literally just listened. But he mentioned this phrase, which is comprehensible input, meaning he had a base and then would just progressively listen to content that was more difficult. That makes sense. But you telling me that you just sat down, put some headphones in, and just put in a podcast of a Spanish speaker and you learn the language that way, I don't think that's the case. So my personal method is to read, expose yourself to the language, and then go from there. And then you'll hear words that you've come across, and you'll be fine. You'll learn it that way. I promise it's just a gradual snowball process, a snowball accumulation process of words. Mike, I appreciate the work you've done with this channel and amazed at your progress and how you're so fluent now. Derek, I appreciate that. And wait, sorry, let me make sure I don't. Okay, I answered everybody's question. I appreciate the work you've done with this channel and amazed at your progress and how you're so fluent. Derek, I really appreciate that. I'm humbled by comments like that. And I surprise myself also at times. It's crazy. Again, Derek, I say this so much. 3 years ago, if you told me I would have a YouTube channel with 10,000 subscribers, not that that's the end of the world, but I'm just saying me, who I was at the time, not interested in anything on the internet like this or interested in learning another language. My idea of a vacation was going to Boston and going to LA and possibly going to Jamaica. I used to like going to Jamaica a lot, right? That I would be speaking Spanish, that I would be, doing this. It will be unbelievable. So I appreciate that. And I'm shocked at myself at times too. It just kind of took a life of its own, this whole Spanish thing in my life. Working on vocab is a must right away. That's what I'm working on. Exactly, Austin. I agree. Have you ever used Anki? It's really helpful to learn vocabulary. Julian, I haven't. And it probably is helpful. I just, with my time, it wouldn't be an efficient use of my time. I don't like to ever bash anything because everybody learns. People have learned Spanish with flashcards, so I can't say it's not useful. But for me, with my time, and if I were to walk you all through an average day of mine, it would sound crazy. Not that I'm just like super busy, but there's not much free time in between there. And so the free time that I did have when I was studying Spanish diligently, I wouldn't have progressed the way I had, the way that I have progressed if I used flashcards. But not to say that they don't work. Entonces, leer y más leer. Es cierto, Derek. Eso es. Y escuchar y hablar. Pero el base es leer para mí. Josh, muchas gracias, hermano. Muchas gracias. Josh, I mentioned you in this video a couple of times. I mentioned how you had more courage to speak to native Spanish speakers when we went out to La Plaza Fiesta that time. You had more courage than I did. So I appreciate you for doing that for us. But I appreciate you also. Y gracias por el apoyo, la verdad. Josh, you don't realize it, but some of these texts that you send me, some of these comments, they really keep me motivated. I talked to you about at times I was like, I'll stop with YouTube. I've done enough. It's like a little time capsule for anybody that wants to go back and learn Spanish. But you've motivated me to continue, so I appreciate it. Julian, ¿crees que mirar un video con subtítulos se puede considerar como una forma de lectura? Se puede decir. I think so, possibly. Pero español y inglés, es like pensando en los dos. Posiblemente sí. Lo que pasa es que para mí lo que no nos sirve es como que estar, o sea, ver algo digamos, si uno está aprendiendo español, ver un programa, ¿no? Donde la gente habla en español con subtítulos en inglés. Para mí eso no sirve para nada. Pero si uno está viendo una película o un show en español con subtítulos en español, sí, ayuda demasiado, tanto. Lo he hecho y me ha servido mucho. I'm hesitant to speak Spanish in the US, but in Costa Rica, I feel confident speaking Spanish because it's the dominant language. And I keep speaking it even when people replied in English. How did that go for you, Chris? I'm curious to know how Costa Rica was in general for you, but also how did that go? Did people typically, let their guard down and respond to you in Spanish, or did they persist like that, like what happens here in the United States? How did that go? I'm curious to know because I'm interested in going to Costa Rica. The thing that I've heard about Costa Rica is that it's Gringolandia. Hay demasiados gringos. Es cierto, es verdad que hay demasiados gringos allí. Or did you get an authentic experience, an authentic tico experience there, de pura vida, or did you feel like you were surrounded by our countrymen and countrywomen? And if that was the case, I could just go to Florida. So I'm curious to know what you thought. Also, I'd say learn vocabulary relative to things that you already do in your native language. I agree, Jacoby. I agree. Estoy de acuerdo. 100% de acuerdo. Ok, chicos. Ya he hablado demasiado. Como siempre, al final de las conversaciones, si a alguien le gustaría entrar, les dejo el link para que vengan si quieren. Si no, Ya me voy a alistar para irme mañana. I recommend Costa Rica. It was about half and half. Some could tell I'm American and will reply in English. Others seem to be game for conversing in Spanish, even if mine wasn't perfect. Okay, got it, got it. And the vibe in the country, you like? I haven't met someone that has said that they didn't like Costa Rica, but what was the vibe in general in the country? Did you like it? Did it seem like a place that you'd like to return to? How was it? How was it? Okay, chicos. All right, I'm speaking in Spanglish. I'm literally mixing the words. But just to recap what I discussed here, again, we're looking at next summer possibly to do a group trip. Again, we're going to take a vote on that and decide on what we would like to do there. We're going to continue with the language exchanges here in Atlanta and virtually for those of you that can make those. I am going to try this shirt out in a couple of places in Atlanta to see if it works. If it does work, it will be on Amazon. If it does not work, it will not be on Amazon because I'm not going to post something that is not helpful. It's not helpful. And the other thing is I finished that book. Okay, so I'm reaching out to an editor, graphic designer, all that stuff tomorrow if I can get them on a Saturday, and I'll get that in the process. Get that process rolling as soon as possible. Okay, I see a couple of people have joined. Kobe, I'm going to let you in first, and then how do I do this? Okay, I have to stream, and then Austin, I'll let you in right after. And Kobe, you tell me by what language you speak to me in, if we're speaking in English or Spanish.
Okay, what's going on, man?
What's up, Kobe? How's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going great. To be honest, okay, I'm gonna try to speak in Spanish,
Okay.
solo porque quería practicar un poco.
Okay.
Um, pero solo quería, um, lo siento, porque ahora estoy muy, muy nervioso porque estoy en vivo.
Está bien, está
Um,
bien.
pero sí, solo quería, um, ¿cuál es la palabra? Es como, Dios mío.
Dime,
I just want
dime,
to thank you.
agradece,
Quería,
agradece.
sí, solo quería agradarte por todas las cosas que has hecho hasta ahora con compartiendo tu progreso con los demás y todo. Y la verdad es que me inspiró,
Wow.
sí, a hacer lo mismo con japonés, documentando mi progreso en eso y todo.
Ujú.
Y sí.
Pues gracias, la verdad, hermano. He visto muchos, no diría muchos, pero unos de tus videos y tú
Ujú,
hablas obviamente muy bien el español, entonces es un logro, ¿no? Poder
ujú,
decir que yo te, perdón, motivarte, ¿no? Te
ujú.
he motivado. Es una locura. Entonces, muchísimas gracias, la verdad, y
Sí, claro.
no sé, es una locura todavía escuchar que estoy inspirando a alguien, pero gracias,
Sí,
la
sí, sí, claro, hermano, claro, claro.
sí.
Y también, no sé, yo tengo una pregunta. ¿Cuándo comenzaste con español?
Ajá.
Am, ¿Has enfocado en un acento específico o solamente querías,
Mm.
que- solamente querías am, aprender el español como no importa lo que acento?
Ujú. Buena pregunta. Y la respuesta es que no me enfoqué en ningún acento en particular,
Ujú,
porque como un bobo pensé, ok, es importante que yo entienda, perdón, a todo el mundo. Entonces,
ujú,
o sea, probaba, diría yo, como probaba un poco del español mexicano, probaba un poco del español dominicano, de todas partes, ¿no? Y resulta que, o sea, terminé con un español muy raro. Todo
sí,
el
sí,
mundo
sí, sí.
decía, como tú suenas muy raro, o sea, tú hablas con acento mexicano, utilizando palabras colombianas, o sea, jerga dominicana,
Ujú,
cortando las palabras como un argentino. Es como, entonces por eso dije, obviamente no funcionó, porque
ujú,
los hispanohablantes me dicen que tengo acento mexicano, pero
ujú,
decidí enfocarme en el español colombiano, entonces es lo que decidí hacer hace unos meses, pero la verdad es que al inicio no fue así para nada. O sea, aprendí
ujú.
tocaba, probaba de todo, yo, sí. Sí.
Bueno, sí, es como lo mismo conmigo, cuando comencé. no me enfoqué en un acento específico, solo estaba aprendiendo el idioma por completo.
Mm,
Ahora, no sé, es como unas personas dicen que probablemente yo tengo una mezcla de probablemente dominicano o probablemente mexicano, es como una mezcla de los dos. Pero es como aquí donde vivo, es como hay muchos mexicanos aquí,
mm,
así que creo que estoy intentando aprender más español mexicano
ujú.
para que pueda entenderles,
Sí.
entenderles, sí, entenderles.
Y la verdad es que hablas como mexicano, la verdad. Hablas
Um,
mexicano, la verdad. Sí, tu acento, como mencionaba, ¿no? Los mexicanos cortan las palabras muy fuerte, ¿no? Y
mm,
escucho esa cosa con tu español también. Y, o sea, y pronuncias las palabras muy bien. Ellos hacen eso, ¿no? Pero corta, o sea, es muy, son muy finas las palabras. Es fácil de escuchar, entenderles, perdón. Entonces, sí. Tengo una pregunta para ti. ¿Qué ha sido lo
mm.
más difícil de aprender español?
Ah, la verdad, mm, no sé, para mí, porque soy una persona, no sé, creo que intentar hablar con otras personas, como hablar con los nativos en español, porque es como no me gusta forzar una conversación
Exacto.
con otras personas, así que um, mucho de tiempo no estaba practicando con nativos, estaba leyendo, estaba escuchando a la música y todo, intentando aprender vocabulario, mucho vocabulario y como te mencioné en los comentarios, hablando con la persona quien quería ayudar en mi trabajo pasado, en el otro trabajo que tenía,
Ujú.
pero sí, por mí, para mí, eso es lo más difícil, o era fuera lo más difícil. Sí.
Ok, entiendo, entiendo,
Mm.
entiendo. ¿Y tienes ganas de viajar, de utilizar tu español de otra forma o estás contento ahora?
Ah, la verdad es que, porque mi meta era aprender para que pueda ayudar a esa persona y yo cumplí esa meta,
Ah,
así que es como, pues estoy contento con mi nivel, pero claro, hay cosas que aún pueda mejorar,
ujú,
como yo sé que yo tengo, yo tengo asuntos gramaticales o asuntos gramaticales y todo,
ujú.
pero estoy contento con mi progreso hasta ahora y
Ah,
por eso estoy aprendiendo japonés ahora.
entiendo, entiendo. Pues te comunicas muy bien, te expresas muy bien, te
Muchas
ha ido
gracias.
muy bien, o sea, muy bueno ese camino.
Mm,
Entonces, me hace sentir muy feliz, ¿no? Que no
mm.
somos los únicos que estamos aprendiendo y que te he ayudado. No sé cómo,
Mm.
pero gracias por
Sí,
decir.
sí, sí, claro. But yeah, Mike, man. I mean, it was nice meeting you, man. I mean, it's kind of like I already know you since I've watched like most of your videos. But yeah, I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. I know other people want to go up and talk to you, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave. But just thank you again for everything that you've done.
You're welcome, Kobe, and I appreciate it,
Mm.
honestly. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man.
All right,
All right.
all right. Ok, todos. Eso es. Si otra persona quiere venir, si someone else wants to come or join, unirse, ahí está el link. Si no, me voy a ir porque me toca viajar, pasarlo bien con mi familia. Will you let us know if the shirt? I will let you all know if the shirt works or not. It'll be a video. It'll be a video. I plan on recording, and that always influences the reactions of people. But I plan on recording, and so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, if it's not fruitful, if it's not helpful, I promise you, I will not put it out because it doesn't make sense to put it out if it doesn't work. When did you start learning Spanish, Kobe? Okay, you can answer that for you. And Felipe. Okay, todos. Eso es. Que tengan una buena noche. Hasta la próxima. I have a couple of videos coming out that are already planned within the next 2 or 3 weeks that are very helpful, I think. And so I appreciate you all again for 10,000 subscribers. That is crazy to say, but I'm going to take YouTube a lot more serious. And hopefully these videos can continue to help you and they don't get repetitive. That's my fear. But yeah, if you have any other questions, ideas, leave them in the comments and or email me. Ciao, que tengan una buena noche.